Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at Jonny Lipsham Studios in Scotland, which is the capital of the world, the solar system, the galaxy, and interstellar space, as everybody should know by now if you are a regular watcher of this show. I hope everybody is doing well, and it looks like we got a fair few people here already, and I see that we have probably the earliest of early birds in the chat. And that'd be Billy Morgan, who, according to the timestamp here, and this is in UK time, by the way, he was in at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Show starts at midnight. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's a whole 4 hours early. That's legendary. And an hour after that, we have Rich Cresswell, aka My Personas, who is here at 9 p.m. And we also have Kyle here as well. And Ronald Figura is here. Kevin from Kevin's Guitar Studios is here. Alps Media, my awesome sponsor, is here. Andrew Lamb is here as well. And that's so far in the chat, down to Waveform, who is here, Waveform Laboratory, who is here as well. Hope everyone is doing great. It'd be nice if we get a few more people in here. So if you know people who you think this show would be useful for, please send them the link to the show. Because at the moment, YouTube is telling me that there are only 5 people watching, which is an all-time low for Sunday Night Live. So this could be possibly the shortest show that we've ever done. Yes, you caught the show in time. You absolutely did, Waveform. Well done. We're here. And you're right here at the top of the show. So I'm hoping a few more people turn up, because just as soon as I press go live, I could see that we had about 9 people here. 2 p.m. Central time, I was relaxing after church. Yes, I bet you were, my friend. John Lake and Don Oliver are here as well. They have just popped in the door, so we're up to 7, and I'm hoping that we will continue going up and up and up. So, my moderators, please go and grab some people from the Presonus Studio One groups, Home Studio Trainer groups, and all of the other ones as well. And hopefully we'll get a few more people in here, because it's only like 6 or 7 people, which is an all-time low for us. It'd be nice if we had more people. So if you have a Studio One question or a mixing and mastering question, then get it into the chat just now, and I will get to answering your questions, because that's what this show is about. And if I don't have questions, I can't answer anything, and then really the point of the show is kind of a little pointless. So I don't want to go down that route where I have to start thinking about whether I should be continuing to do this show anymore. So with numbers this low, it's a little bit concerning. So anyway, for the 7 of you that are here, and if there are more of you who are watching and you just have not said hello in the chat, please say hello. You have to be a subscriber to the channel first in order to do it. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and select all notifications, and then you'll know when this show is. And this show is every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Central. The only time we don't do this show is if it falls on something like Christmas. So if Christmas is at a weekend, then there won't be a show. But otherwise, there will be. And I also try and do a special show, a special live stream on New Year's Eve, which here in Scotland we call Hogmanay. So I like to do one of those as well, because, you know, it's nice to do a New Year's Eve show, and I'll either do it before midnight here in the UK, or I'll do it late, because the next day I'm not working anyway, so it doesn't matter which way round I do it. But yeah, if you guys are up for that, then awesome. That is what we will be doing throughout the course of this year. Now, to those of you that have heard about it, I am running a challenge at the moment, a composing challenge, which I've been running as part of my Songwriting Simplified show, which is on a Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Time. But here's the thing with that challenge. It's called the Foley Household Music Challenge. And the idea is that you create a piece of music using the sounds of household items. So the sound of, you know, a tea mug being tapped, or glass, or slamming a fridge door shut to create a kick drum sound, thumping a tabletop to make a snare drum sound. All of those kind of sounds are legit to be used for this challenge. Now, if you have not been involved in this, it's been an ongoing open challenge. It will come to an end, by the way. It will definitely be closing. We're going to close the challenge in 2 weeks' time. So if you've not been involved in it, but you would like to get involved in it, then please drop an email to me. Go down here to the website and drop me an email with your email address that you use for your MyPresonus account. If you don't have a MyPresonus account, that's fine. You can create one for free. Doesn't cost you a penny or a cent or anything else. And send me the email address that you use to create that account, and then what I will do is I will invite you to a Presonisphere workspace that we are using for this challenge. And in that workspace, you will find a folder that contains all of the sounds that have been added so far. And there are quite a lot, and quite a lot of them have been created by people like Billy and Rich, just for starters, and there's a few other contributors there as well. If you have a bunch of sounds that you would like to add to that workspace, then you can do that. You can add your sounds to that that collection, and then, you know, anybody else that is a member of that workspace can use those sounds to create their piece. And the idea is that we make a 90-second piece of music that has a definitive and clear start, middle, and end, and you can use any of those sounds. It can be percussive, unpitched, so non-pitched percussion kind of piece, or it can be, you know, a complete piece of music with, you know, melody, harmony, and rhythm, using those sounds, and maybe using a sampler to kind of create pitches out of those sounds. So if you want to do that, if you are up for being involved in that, then please do go ahead. My good friend Rich at MyPresonus has been helping curate all of these, and he's also provided an example kind of composition that should give you an idea of the kind of things that you can do. Now, his particular piece is freaking awesome, but you can do what you like. There aren't any compositional rules. All it has to have is just use household sounds, okay? So that does not include musical instruments. So no saxophones, no trumpets, no trombones, no kazoos, no harmonicas, melodicas, or anything like that, or even pianos or drum sets or bass guitars. No traditional musical instruments are allowed. They have to be household sounds. So you can get your cutlery out and you can make sounds out of your cutlery. Or you can, if you really have like some old plates that you don't need anymore, you can just record the sound of plate smashing if you want and make that into your piece. Whatever you have in mind, just record them. You can record them using the microphone on your cell phone. That will work. And then just upload the sounds to your computer, and then you can transfer them to the workspace. And then the idea is that in 2 weeks' time, I would like in that workspace for you guys to submit your 90-second pieces of music. And then what we will do on the next available show is we will play some of your pieces. Not so that it's not a competition. There's no prize. It's not that kind of a thing. It's just a challenge. And then we just get to share and enjoy each other's pieces of music and encourage each other. That's the general idea of it. It's not a competition. It's not to see, kind of who's better than who, or, there's a prize or anything for the best piece. No, there isn't anything like that. It's just a challenge to see what we can come up with the limitation of just household sounds. So if you guys are up for that, then please do that and get involved. Drop me an email. And when I start going through my emails, I will add you to the workspace. I think a few people were recently added, so we got a fair number of people there now. So the competition, it's not competition. The challenge, I just said it's not competition. The challenge closes in 2 weeks from today. Okay, so Sunday in 2 weeks' time is when it will finish, and on that Sunday. You need to have uploaded your piece by then. Are we having a streaming problem here? It says no data. Has the stream gone down? Did we lose the stream for a second there? Kind of looks like we might have. Anyway. It looks like we're back, even if we did lose the stream for a second there. Anyway. So, yeah, 2 weeks' time, you need to have uploaded your piece of music if you want to. You don't have to, but it would be great if we have some pieces of music that were created using these sounds. And then the following Sunday, I will collect them all into a playlist and we'll play them and we'll share and enjoy them, hopefully. All right, so I wonder what happened there because YouTube was telling me that there was no data, so I have no idea. Anyway, let's go see what we got here. Rich says, I did that video whilst I had COVID, so apologies for my disheveled appearance, but it covers a lot of things that you can do. Yes, it's a very cool video. Billy says, is there a way to download all the samples together? No, you have to download them individually. So it will take it will take a minute or two. And Rich says, for those that are already part of the workspace, you can view the video there, and he's got a link to that. If you're not a member, you won't be able to view the video. So yes, you will need to send me that email so that I can get you added to the workspace, and then you'll be able to see the video. And get some idea of what you can do. All right, you guys are saying it's working and everything is good. All right, Bobby Booth is here. Bobby Booth has pretty much been to every single Sunday Night Live that we've done. For, I think, 5 years or so. 5 or 6 years we've been doing this. And John Hawk has just arrived. He says, hail! All right, let's get to your questions now that we've kind of talked about the challenge. And actually, I could probably share my screen and show you kind of what it looks like. Hang on a second, whilst I go and open it up, and then you'll get to see kind of what it's about. So let's go over to the screen. All right, so here it is. The 2022 Household Foley Moly Music Challenge is what it's called. And this is the workspace, and as you can see here, people have been adding stuff. So we've got a folder here full of samples, and these are all the sounds that you guys have made, which is great. So we've got like guitar cable into and out of jack socket. We've got a soda stream. We've got a cigarette lighter. We've got a wheelchair horn. Thanks to Billy Morgan for those. We've got some chopsticks. We've got some ring pulls. We've got a football hit. We've got a whole bunch here that Rich made. which is awesome. And then we've got some that were made by James Giannone. He's got a TikTok here, which is like a mantle clock, and card shuffling, cordless drills. There is so much stuff in here. See, and we've got a comb as well. We've got deadened glass. There's loads and loads of stuff in here. There's Velcro being ripped. There's spray cans. And there's zips being zipped up of various different types. So that's in the samples folder. And then you've got this songs folder, which is where you can upload your finished piece. And we've got this one here, made by Rich, which is very, very cool. And we will play his, what we got here. Oh, this is one of Ronald's. This probably should go into the samples folder. And there's the video that Rich was already talking about earlier. A little tip to help you with the sounds already on here. And there's, of course, Henry the Hoover, the vacuum cleaner, which is the cover pick for the workspace. Do you have to be signed up for Sphere to participate in this? No, you don't. You do not need to be signed up. You just need a my.presonus.com account, which you can create for free. So if you have Studio One, you already have a My Presonus account. So all you need to do is just send me the email address that you use to log into your account. Don't send me the password, just the email address. I don't need to know your password. I don't want to know your password, and it's probably illegal. So just send me the email address that you use to log into your My Presonus account. And then what I will do is I will send you an invite to that email address to this workspace. And then there will be a link that you will find in your My Presonus account to accept the invitation, and then you'll have access to this workspace, and you'll be able to use the samples that are there. You'll be able to upload your own, and also you'll be able to put your song when you're done. And as I said, we've got 2 weeks left. 2 weeks left, and then it will close. So you will be able to put all of your stuff in the samples folder and upload your piece to the songs folder, and then at the end of the challenge, as I said, on the following Sunday, we'll play your songs and we'll have a lot of fun. And then later in the year, I know we're kind of coming to the end of the year, but I'm kind of thinking that challenges should be something that we just do as part of this community. So I'm going to start doing them more. So maybe we'll do something a bit Christmas orientated. But uniquely Christmas. Don't just go ahead and write a Christmas carol. That's just old hat. Everybody has done that. So maybe do a backwards Christmas carol or something. We'll come up with some kind of Christmas thing that we can all get involved in just for fun. And then next year, my plan is to do at least one, if not two challenges throughout the course of the year. And if you guys have got an idea for a challenge that we can all do, by all means suggest it. Just send me an email. Go here to the website down here and use the contact form at the bottom of the website and send me that suggestion. And heck, if it's a great idea, then I'll put it to you guys either on Wednesday or on Sunday, and we'll make it happen. It would be great to do all sorts of different challenges that involve music making and using Studio One, for sure. So if you've got ideas like that, then let's get them aired, and let's get them out there. So no, you don't need to be a member of Presonus. It's not exclusive to Presonus members. It's just the workspace is just the easiest way to organize this. We could have done it through Dropbox, but it wouldn't nearly be as easy. Whereas this way, it keeps it inside Presonus for a start. Secondly, for those that are members of Presonus, it's dead easy. And those of you that aren't members of Presonus, it's still pretty easy. It keeps things nice and neat and tidy. And the workspaces are really, really good. And the workspace feature is a feature that is just improving all the time and is only going to get better. So, so there we go. Let's see, what else do we have? That file is now in the samples folder. Thank you, Rich. Awesome. It's next year already. Well, yeah, we're heading in that general direction. It's ridiculous that it is actually at the end of flipping 2022 already. That's just bonkers. I can't quite believe it. So we got 12 people here, 12 or 13 people, 14 people here, which is great. If you are new to the show and you haven't said hi yet, please hit the subscribe button and give it, I think it's a couple of minutes or so, and then you'll be able to write in the chat and you'll be able to say hello. And if you're new, that's great. New people are always welcome here. Full show. All right, let's see what else we've got. Don Oliver, yeah, I'm going to start that again. Take 2 and action. Don Oliver says, is there a way to set up a USB mic in Studio One? It's not Revelator, it's a Samsung Track Pro. Yes. Now, here's the thing with USB mics. You can use them in Studio One, and you just got to set them up right. Now, some USB mics have their own drivers and some do not. Those that don't, they may or may not be class compliant devices. In which, if they're not, if they are, then you could probably use them with Windows Audio if you're on a Windows computer, or whatever built-in proprietary sound card is on your Mac. So you might be able to just use it that way, and then all you need to do is in the audio setup, you just need to select that as your sound card. So you just select Windows Audio. However, if it does have its own driver, its own ASIO driver, then use that. It might not appear as a detected item in Studio One, in which case you're going to have to kind of set it up at least a little bit. Another alternative, if it doesn't have a driver, is to go and download ASIO for All from the website asioforall.com, and then once you've downloaded that and installed that, then you can set up ASIO for All as the audio device in Studio One, and then you just hit the control panel button, and then that will open up the ASIO for All control panel, and in there you should be able to select your Samsung, what did you say it was? Samsung Track Pro. And once you've done that, you should be able to use that as your recording device. Well, I mean, if you're on Windows, it's recording and playback, because you can only use one device on Windows. If you're on a Mac, you can have the Samsung Track Pro as your recording device and your playback device as your internal speakers. Can't quite do that on a PC, because that's a limitation of Windows. That's just the way it is, and that's not going to change. It's not a PreSonus problem, it is a Windows problem. That's just the way they design Windows, and it's probably never ever going to change. So nothing we can do about that. That said, for most part, most USB mics will work that way. So ASIO for All is probably a good option, because you'll get possibly possibly lower latency see, other than just using your built-in sound card. Your built-in sound card is probably not going to be fast enough, or your built-in driver, the Windows Audio driver, is probably not going to be fast enough. Especially, for recording vocals or something like that. So ASIO for All will definitely work. But yeah, check if your Samsung device, your Samsung Track Pro, actually has its own device driver, ASIO driver, and see if that will set up and work in Studio One. Waveform says, I'm still learning Studio One. You know what? I've been using it for nearly 10 years. I'm still learning it too. There are still parts of Studio One that I have no idea how they work. And there are still features and functions of Studio One that I have never touched. And they are still news to me. So Studio One is that big that will be the case. Does a submitted song require that Studio One be the DAW used? Yes, it does. But if you're still learning Studio One, that's just fine. Like I said, this is not a contest. It's not a competition. So, you know, if you're still learning Studio One, it's fine. Just go ahead and have fun making music. You know, it's absolutely cool. I don't have a problem with anybody that's brand new to Studio One being involved in this. It will actually help you get used to recording and mixing in Studio One for sure, and creating a song in Studio One. You know, the best way to use Studio One is to actually make a song. If you've never used Studio One before and you're brand new to it, just start using it like you would any other DAW. Just start recording, start making music. And you'll find that Studio One, when you start focusing on making music, is actually really intuitive and really easy to use. If you start trying to use Studio One like you would use Cubase or like you would use Pro Tools, that's where you're going to get unstuck, because you will find that it doesn't necessarily behave in exactly the same way, or certain features and functions are in a different place in Studio One, rather, you know, compared to how they are in something like Pro Tools or Cubase or Logic. So if you start trying to make Studio One be like another DAW, you're going to have a hard time. But if you just go, I'm just going to make music and I'm going to learn how Studio One makes music, you will be fine. And you will find that this challenge actually helps you. So please don't be worried about only using Studio One. This is actually going to help you, not hinder you. So it'll only hinder you if you kind of allow it up here to hinder you. Don't let Studio One be a stumbling block. Just go for it and have fun. That's the point of the challenge. But it's a good question and it's a good point. Old School Funk and Soul is here, which is great. He's cool. And we appreciate some old school funk, for sure. Rich says, I've just downloaded the samples and re-uploaded as a zip for those that want to grab all of them. Awesome. Thank you for doing that, Rich. That's fantastic. That makes it a lot easier. Can you trust Azure for All? Asked Don Oliver. Yes, you can. Now, here's the caveat. And it is a tiny, tiny, tiny little caveat. It is not a supported Azure driver by Presonus. We don't support it. So if you have a problem with the Azure driver itself, then you will need to contact Azure for All support. It's not something we can fix. If there's a problem with the driver itself, then you'll need to contact them, because we don't actually have access to their code base. It's the same with a third-party plugin. We can't fix issues with third-party plugins because we don't have access to their code base, because they're not our products. But that said, you can trust it. It does work. I know plenty of Presonus customers and Studio One users that use Azure for All exclusively and have done for many years, from version 2 all the way up to version 5.5. And they have a lot of success with it. It's really stable. It's really reliable for them. But we do have some people for whom it is just a little bit of a problem. It is just a little bit of a hassle. But for the most part, it's not. And I'm only going on what I see customers talking about and customers reporting. But I mean, it was designed to be a virtual Azure driver for devices that don't have one. And there are plenty of devices out there that they just don't have their own Azure driver, which is weird. I don't understand it personally, but you know, if you're going to build a USB mic or you're going to build a USB interface, surely the idea should be that you would want it to work in a DAW. So make an ASIO driver for it. I mean, really. But ASIO for All was designed to fill that gap. It's a virtual ASIO driver. And it works with a whole bunch of devices that don't have an ASIO driver. There was a period where development on it stopped. And I think for about a period of three and a half, nearly 4 years, no development took place, and the website was never updated. And the reason I found out about that is that the original guy that developed ASIO for All, and it was a one-person project. He was doing it in his spare time. I believe he died. And for a period of a few years, nobody could work out how to get into the back end of ASIO for All so that they could continue developing it. But thankfully now it's being worked on again, and it's still being developed, and it's still it hasn't been discontinued. It's still working, and it's still available for free, which is awesome. And I think the guys that are developing it, they're a small team, and they're based in Europe somewhere. I think they're in France, actually, if memory serves. They seem to be a pretty straight up bunch of people who are just creating a product that fills a gap in the audio industry. And I think, frankly, they're just doing their best. They're doing a reasonably good job, but really it's very hard to create a very broad, generalized ASIO driver that's going to work on every DAW, that's going to work with every hardware product that doesn't have one. So it's hard. But yeah, for the most part, it does work. And that was a very long answer to that question. I apologize. But yes, you can. Roger says, thanks for doing this. You're welcome. This challenge is cool. Really, the big help I have had in putting this challenge together has come from Rich, actually. I had the idea, and Rich said, yeah, we can make this work. I will help you organize it. And the guy is seriously good at organizing. I'm seriously shit at organizing. I have ideas. I have problems making those ideas happen because I don't have necessarily the skills or the organizational requirements to be able to make them happen. But fortunately, I have great people around me who have the blue wrenches, and their name's in purple. Are they blue or purple? I'm not really sure. But whether it's blue or purple is irrelevant. My moderators and my sponsor, Louis at Alps Media, are great because they help me make the ideas that I have happen, and they help me organize things and keep this show kind of running in a nice, neat fashion. And I could not do this without any of them. And a big, big thank you has to go to Rich Cresswell for helping organize this challenge. And I hope he will be up for organizing future challenges for sure. Because that would be a great help. Let's see. Old School Funk and Soul says, agreed on learning Studio One. Jonny and I have been long-time Cubase users. Yes, I used Cubase from its very first initial version all the way through until 2013, which I think was Cubase 6.5, I think it was in 2013. Might be in 6.0, I can't remember. It's either 6.0 or 6.5, I can't remember. Anyways, Cubase 6 point something. And that's when I made the jump over to Studio One. I had never heard of Studio One. I knew of Presonus. I knew they made hardware. I had no idea they made a DAW. Considering Studio One came out in 2009, how on earth I had never realized that they made a DAW. I don't know. How did I miss that one? I would have jumped on it a lot sooner, to be honest. But anyway, I came over to Studio One in the back end of 2013, and I started making videos on it about a year later. And then in 2015, Studio One 3 came out, and I decided that really I need to step up my game for making videos for folks like you. So I started really making a whole bunch of Studio One videos. And in the back end of 2019, I started, no, back up a little bit further. Back up to about 2017, I started working much more closely with Presonus. We talked, they talked to me, I talked to them, and we began a beautiful relationship, a beautiful partnership with this channel. And I started really ramping up my content. And then in the back end of 2019, I started working for Presonus, and it's been an awesome journey, and I love it. And from buying Studio One in 2013, I had no idea that in a few years' time I'd actually be working for the company. That's bonkers, but that's just the way it has worked, and I love it. But yeah, good point. Let's see. Waveform Labs says, the reason I asked about Studio One is that my workflow speed is slower. I'm much faster using brand L and brand R. I guess you're correct by forcing us to use Studio One. The only way you're going to get faster at using Studio One is by using it. And I can tell you that from experience, because all of those years I worked in Cubase, I was a flipping Cubase ninja. I really was. I had such a very, very deep and high level of understanding of that program that I could run Cubase. I could run Cubase in my sleep. Seriously, I'm not over exaggerating. I could have run I keep saying Studio One because I now can run Studio One in my sleep. But back in my Cubase period, by the time I got to the end of it, I absolutely could run Cubase. I could do a mix with my eyes closed. I knew exactly where everything was. I knew all my shortcuts. I knew all my key commands. I could, make really, really snap, quick decisions and make them happen in under a second. In Cubase, I was seriously fast. I was a proper flipping Jedi ninja at Cubase. And then when I jumped over to Studio One, yeah, there are a reasonable amount of similarities between the two programs. The reason being is that the original development team behind Studio One, which was a company called Crystal that Presonus bought in 2006, 2007. They were developers of Cubase and Nuendo. So when you look at Studio One, there are clear and obvious signs of inspiration from the Cubase and Nuendo workflows. And, some concepts are very, very similar. So that helped. It made it a little bit easier. Now, I know that Pro Tools and Logic or Ableton and Reaper, those DAWs are considerably different to Studio One in many different respects. So, the learning curve is going to be a little bit different. But when you learn anything new for the first time, you are definitely a beginner, and you have to take your time, and you have to not expect yourself to be a ninja in super quick time. It doesn't work like that. It's like, when you first drive a car for the very first time, you think, hey, I'm going to be like Lewis Hamilton on my first driving lesson. No, you're not. No, you're not. On your first driving lesson, you're going to find it a struggle to find that balance point, but especially if you're driving a stick shift car, that balance point between clutch and accelerator. When you're changing gears, you're going to find that hard, and the car is going to go, it's going to be hopping like a frog. But eventually you get past that. You get through that beginning phase. It's like learning, if let's say you're like me, you're a trumpet player, and you decide you want to learn saxophone. I have an alto saxophone up on that shelf up there. And my dad is a tenor sax player of some 65 years professional playing experience. And when you first put the horn in your mouth, and even if you know the fingerings for each of the notes, your tone sucks. It sounds like a cow having a shit. It does. It sounds horrible. You got to work through that, and eventually you begin to strengthen all of these muscles up here, and you begin to get consistent tone, especially if you practice playing long notes. It's not particularly musically inspiring. You're not going to sound like John Coltrane in the first 10 minutes, or Charlie Parker. You're just not. You have to spend time learning the basics and doing the long notes, and it's not great fun just to sit there going bang until you run out of breath. But you got to do it, because that is how you build your sound. That's how you build your tone. And then you start doing the scales and the arpeggios. Then you start playing along to records, and then you start improvising. And before you know it, you're gaining some skills. It's the same with Studio One. At first, you're going to be slow, because you're still finding your way around. You're still getting familiar with the workflow. You're still getting familiar with where things are and how things work. But after time, you get to the point where you can work the thing like a darn ninja with your eyes closed, not even looking at the screen, just doing everything, kind of looking over there. Easy. It does come. Just take your time and go for it. What is the challenge? The challenge is called the household. Damn it. I had the name for it. And it's gone. But I can show you again. Here's the challenge. It's called the 2022 Household Foley Moly Music Challenge. Basically, the challenge is creating a piece of music that is 90 seconds long with a clear start, middle, and end using household sounds only. There's a whole folder here full of them. And there's a folder here for completed songs. Rich is the first one in because he's fantastic. And there are 73, I think, sounds here already, which is loads. And there's a zip file so you can download the whole 73 at once if you want to. Or you can download whichever, just kind of the ones you want to use. So that's the challenge. Let's see, what else do we have? Robert Ziegler is here. Awesome to have you here, Robert. Thank you for coming. Make a piece of music using household sounds from workspace. Yes, that's the challenge. Edward Marion is here. Hello, Edward. Good to see you. Welcome. He says, what made me a Studio One user is the score view and the ability to view and edit multiple tracks at the same time in the score view. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people love that. As do I. Because I am, amongst the other things that I do, I'm also an arranger. So I write arrangements, and I'm a songwriter, so I write arrangements and songs for all sorts of other artists. I do string arrangements, I do horn arrangements, I do big band arrangements, I do orchestral arrangements. And so, yes, having the score editor inside Studio One is fantastic. I also use Notion, which is the PreSonus scoring software, which has this fantastic interoperability with Studio One. So you can send a score from Notion to Studio One. You can send MIDI data, and you can send your score from the score view in Studio One 5 Professional straight over to Notion as well. And you can use the London Symphony Orchestra, which is built into Notion. And you've also got the bass playing skills of Victor Wooten in Notion, and his brother, whose name escapes my memory, who is a terrific drummer. You've got his drum set there as well, and some of the grooves that he played. as well. So it's awesome. Notion is fantastic. If you are into notation and writing music via notation, then Notion is definitely for you. If you are a PersonaSphere member, you already have Notion. Go download it and go use it. I heartily recommend it. Let's see. What else do we have here? Messed around with Nuendo, somehow never liked Cubase. Yeah, I loved Cubase, but then kind of fell very, very hard out of love with it. Let's see. Waveform Lab says, I love that Studio One has macros, but I'm finding several limitations because of the rather short list comparatively of commands that are the building blocks of macros. Is this list of commands going to expand? Unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to comment upon future developments of Studio One. Suffice to say that is already a very popular feature request over at answers.personas.com. If you want to see the list of commands for creating macros increase, and also if you would like the ability to create your own commands, go vote up those features in answers.personas.com. I have already voted them up. I have already spoken to the Persona software team over in Hamburg on this particular subject. So it is something that we have discussed. And I have conveyed my desire to see such things. So we will see what happens in the future. Edward says, yes, export from Studio One to Notion and play around on iOS and then send back to Studio One. Yes, you can certainly do that. It's the journey round from Studio One to Notion iOS is a little bit more convoluted, maybe a tad less direct, but it's certainly possible. House of Latin is here. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. Because I think you're new here. Started to learn theory / reading music properly after playing a bit by ear. How important is finger position when learning scales? It is actually really important. I don't know whether you're talking about piano or guitar, but it is really important. And the reason it is important is because if you have the right fingering, it will help you get round the scales faster and more easily. So generally speaking, with piano, the thing that you have to do, you have to remember there's 88 keys here, and you've only got 5 fingers on this hand and 5 fingers on this hand. So you have to find a way to extend your fingers. And most of the time what we do is we do this thumb going behind the hand trick. So if you're playing a C major scale, you play a C, D, and E. So you go basically, if I was to number these fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'd go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, your thumb goes behind and starts again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's how you play 8 notes with 5 fingers. And then going back down, you do the same, but in reverse. So you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And that's the basic fingering for most scales. So even with minor scales, melodic minor scales, Mixolydian, Dorian, whatever scales, that's mostly how you do it. There are some exceptions because some of them on the black notes, it's a little bit harder to do that kind of thumb behind trick. So sometimes you don't do that. You have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes you have to do it on finger 4 rather than finger after doing finger 3, you'd have to do it after finger 4. So like on F major, for example, it's a little tricky going F, G, A, and then getting your thumb up onto the B flat. That's just weird. So this is where you go 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4. So that one, the thumb kind of goes a little bit later rather than after finger 3. And you'll find that there are other starting points where you have to change where that thumb switch back happens. But other than that, that's how it works. And that's how it makes it easy for you to play any scale, whether it's a blues scale, a modal scale, a minor scale or a major scale. Now, if you're on guitar, you're only going to have these 4 fingers to make your notes on the strings. So fingering is going to be even more important to make it work. So yes, fingering and learning the correct finger position, and not only the correct fingering position, but the correct hand position is going to be essential for you to be able to make the scale work across all 6 strings of a guitar, or all 4 strings of a bass, or 5 strings, or 6 strings if you've got that many on your bass. If you have, you're a lunatic, but I'm kidding. But that's a good question. Lollipop Girl says, I hope Fender adds Studio One transports on their guitars. Well, you've got to have the ability to communicate between your guitar and Studio One for that to happen, but that's a good one. House of Latin's talking about piano. Yeah, so there's mostly that finger switchback thing that I was talking about after finger 3 or after finger 4. All right. Hey. Now this one's a tricky one as well. And this one is another finger 4 one, because of that E flat. All right, and then I've just done all 12 major scales there. All right, so I hope that helps. Can you suggest a good book for piano and guitar scales? For piano, no, because I never had any piano lessons, so I don't really know of a good book. But there are plenty of good piano books out there. I think Chick Corea, the jazz piano player, has a great video series and a great piano book. The YouTuber Charles Cornell, if you've never heard that name before, you should go and check out his channel. Charles Cornell. Go check out his channel because he also has a beginner piano course, which I highly recommend you get, because not only is it a series of video tutorials, but there's also a whole bunch of worksheets and stuff you can print out that's going to help you get into the piano the best. So there's loads of materials with that beginner piano book. He also does a jazz improvisation course as well, which is extremely good. I highly recommend it. House of Latin says, thanks, I never paid attention to it. Just placed my right hand when playing melodies without thinking that much. There you go. How did I learn to play piano? I learned from listening to records. My first piano teacher was listening to Thelonious Monk, the great jazz piano player. I listened to his my mother had his Round Midnight record, and I almost wore the grooves out on that record. I would play it over and over and over and over again, because I loved the sound he got from the piano. But I also listened a lot to Bill Evans, and later on I listened to Chick Corea. But there's other great piano players that I really dig. People like Billy Joel, Elton John, are great piano players. Bruce Hornsby is another great piano player that I really dig. But yeah, I listened to records. I listened to, Thelonious Monk, Bud Powell, Bill Evans, and Keith Jarrett. Keith Jarrett is another favorite of mine. And that's how I learned how to play. I basically listened, and then I tried to copy what I heard. And then, once we got into YouTube, when YouTube became a thing, I suddenly discovered I could watch Keith Jarrett play and have camera angles on his fingers on the piano, and I could see everything he did. and I would freeze frame every phrase and roll it back and play it, and then roll it back and then play it. And that's how I learned. I've been playing piano since I was 8 or 9 years old. And I never learned the kind of classical approach, but I learned jazz. And that whole kind of what you do with your thumb, it kind of just made sense to me. Nobody had shown me how to do it. And then when I went to university, I had to have a piano teacher. When I went to do my music degree, and I said to the piano teacher, I said, you know, I've never had any piano lessons ever. I've only learned from listening, really. And this is in the 1990s. This was like well before YouTube was even a thing. And my piano teacher said, that's fine, let's just see what you can do. And he said, you have, really good technique. Where did you learn that? I said, I didn't. I just put my fingers where I thought was logical. He said, well, how did you learn, this? To get that thumb back. And I was just like, well, I've only got 5 fingers and I need to play an 8-note scale. It kind of made sense to me that I need to extend my hand in a way that's going to be natural and easy and simple. And so it made sense to me that the thumb should go behind in order for me to play, in order for me to play a different scale. So that's how I learned. And, now, as you can see, I can play without looking. I know where my fingers go. Did I ever listen to Joe Sample? Yeah, absolutely. I love Joe Sample's music, particularly the way he plays the Fender Rhodes electric piano. I mean, actually, it was listening to Joe Sample playing the Fender Rhodes electric piano that went, I gotta play this instrument. Now, my parents, who are professional musicians, said, well, we have a Fender Rhodes electric piano. And I said, well, I have to play it. So, they let me play it. And I was only a kid, but they let me play it. And I just fell in love with, I fell in love with that, that chiming sound, I just fell in love with that kind of chiming sound of the Fender Rhodes, and that was it for me. Roger says, it seems very important to introduce your kids to music at an early age, both as critical listener and as a musician. Definitely. I started out as a drummer because that's what I saw my dad doing. My dad plays drums, he plays tenor and soprano saxophone, but he also plays about 40 other instruments absurdly well. And so I saw my dad play drums, and my first exposure to music really was listening to Buddy Rich and the Buddy Rich Big Band, and I fell in love with that sound. I fell in love with the sound of the stick on the ride cymbal, and as well as the technical stuff that Buddy was able to do around the drum set. I fell in love with that sound, and I was just like, I have to do that. I have to do that. That has to be the thing that I do with my life. And then I heard Steve Gadd playing on the title track of Steely Dan's Asia, and I was just like, that's it. If nothing else was going to convince me more, it was that drum solo on Asia. It's the perfect drum track for that song. The perfect drum track. It couldn't be better. You cannot improve upon it. And so I said to my dad, I said, can I play your drums? He goes, yeah. So he he showed me how to hold the sticks. I had never held a pair of sticks in my life. And that was it. I was off to the races. And by the time I was 6 years old, I was playing with my parents in their in their band. They had a soul funk band, 60s, 70s kind of soul funk band. And this is like the early 1980s. So this would have been like 1980, 81. I started playing my first gigs with my parents, playing drums, and making money. That's how I earned my pocket money, was playing gigs with my parents. Most people wash the dishes or hoover the floor or tidy up their room or something. I played drums with my parents. That's how I earned my pocket money. And I've been doing it ever since for, over 40 years. So, but yes, I totally agree. Expose your kids to music at an early age. Ronald says fingerings can change based on context when working outside of scales. Yes, absolutely, certainly. Sometimes you just have to find a way to make a particular scale or arpeggio pattern work. DJ Vu says, what is the topic of today's meeting? I'm somewhat late. So we started off talking about this, the Foley challenge, which is closing in 2 weeks from today. So if you're not sure what the heck this is the Personosphere workspace for the Household Foley Music Challenge, which is all about creating a piece of music that is 90 seconds long using nothing but household sounds. There's a whole list of about 70 or so here, and then there's a folder here in which you can put your piece of music. Only needs to be 90 minutes long. It can be unpitched percussion kind of music, or it can have harmony, rhythm, melody, the works, and be a full kind of piece in that respect. Doesn't just have to be a percussive piece. But it certainly can be. It just needs to have a clear start, middle, and end, and needs to be a minimum of 90 seconds long. And so this challenge closes in 2 weeks' time. If you are not signed up to it, you need to go to my email address, which is not at the bottom of that screen. It's at the bottom of this screen. There's my website. Fill out the contact form at the bottom of that website with your email address for your My Personas account. If you don't have a My Personas account, you can create one for free. It does not cost a penny to do so. And then you can, what will happen is I will send you an invitation to this workspace and you'll be able to join it. You don't need to be a Personosphere member to be involved in this. All you need is that My Personas account, and just send me the email address that you use to create that account. If you have Studio One Professionals, Artist, or Prime, then you will have a My Personas account. You just need to send me the email address that you use to log in. Don't send me a password. Don't want that. Don't need that. And it's probably illegal for you to do so. Just send me the email address and I'll get you added to this. And then once the challenge is over, you can... once the challenge is over, if you don't want to be involved in any future challenges, then you can remove yourself from the workspace. That's fine. Not a problem for you to do that. So there you go. And as Richard said, I did a video on there showing you how you can use the sounds creatively. So yeah, if you are up for the challenge, we have 2 weeks left. 2 weeks left. I've let this run for about 8 months. So we got to draw it to a close at some point. So send me an email with your My Personas email address and I'll get you added to it. And then you can either use the sounds that are there already, or you can add your own sounds. So if you've got sounds that are not in that list, then you can go grab new sounds. You can make new sounds with anything that's in your home. Okay? It's as easy as that. Any sound, so long as it's not an actual musical instrument, it is legit. So if you are slamming your kitchen door closed and you think, wow, that would make a great kick drum sound, then record it. Record it with your cell phone. Upload the sound to the workspace samples folder, and then everybody can use that awesome kick drum sound. So it's not a contest, it's not a competition, it's just a challenge. So if you make a piece of music with this, then upload it to that songs folder in the workspace over here. You just upload it to this. Here's Rich's one already done, because he's a smart boy and got this done well ahead of time. And the Sunday after this challenge closes, we will play your pieces. So it'd be nice if we have more than just Rich's piece in here. So you've got 2 weeks to get those pieces into that songs folder, and then we can play your pieces, and it would be great fun to hear what you guys have come up with. All right, so that is that. A big shout out to Rich for all of his help with organizing this. And we're going to call it there because we are 7 minutes over time. Thank you everybody for coming, and thank you for your great questions. And I hope you guys are interested in this Foley challenge. It should be really interesting. I've personally, for me, I've never made a piece of music that just uses household sounds, but I thought it would be a great idea. So there we go. Please don't let me be the only one. I'll only steal all of your limelight. Yeah, exactly right. We don't want Rich to have all the glory. So please get your piece of music in this folder ASAP. All right, there we go, folks. That's the end of the show. Join the fun, join the party, and this will be hilarious fun, and it'll be really, really entertaining to see what you guys have all come up with. And then maybe we'll do a Christmas challenge. I'll talk to Rich a little bit about that. And certainly, it'd be great if we could do a couple of challenges each year, just to keep you guys on your toes and keep me on my toes as well, and keep this channel engaging. So if you guys know people who you think that stuff like these challenges are going to be great, then share this channel with them. Share a link to this channel with them and get them involved. If you are not subscribed, although to actually talk in the chat, you have to be subscribed. So all of you in the chat are subscribed, which is great. But folks who are watching who have not subscribed yet, please go hit that subscribe button, which I think is over there, and hit the notification bell and select all notifications. That way you'll get notified about this show and any other shows that I do, and also videos that I put out. I've got a whole bunch of videos that are coming your way pretty soon. I've just got to finish tidying them up and editing them, and they are going to blow your tiny little brains. Some of you don't have tiny brains, but they're still going to get blown anyway. All right, folks, I wish you all a very good night, and I will see you on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified. Good night.